Welcome and thank you for joining us on Reform Universal Family Law. Thank you for joining us. It is about 6:30 in the morning on Friday the 13th of all days. Ooh, it's uh it's October and it's Friday the 13th. I thought that was pretty cool. So I went ahead and kind of threw on my Halloween shirt in honor of today's date. Now, let's get to the point of this video. I've been mulling this around for the last 3 or 4 days, and then I finally just kind of woke up super early this morning and decided it was time to do this video. Now, the title of this is not just going to be clickbait. I am actually going to tell you in this video right now that Americans and American parents in particular are not ready for family law reform. Now, I know that's a heavy statement, that's a bold statement to make, and it's probably going to upset a few people. Here's how I got to that conclusion. We did a recent event here in Salt Lake City. And when I say we, I'm talking about members of Reform Utah Family Law, which is the group Reform Universal Family Law. It's our local chapter. And we teamed up with another organization that was coming into the state and doing some promoting of parental rights. And they asked us to join them in their protest in front of the 3rd District Court here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so I said, all right, we can do that. We went out there, we put the call out to our members, and there was literally 3 of us. Three members that showed up. Now, this other organization had, I'm going to say, about 10 folks that kind of filtered in through the day. So we had a total of maybe a baker's dozen people that showed up for this event. How in the world can we consider our movement ready for family law reform and for change when we do events in front of the court building and we have 13 people there? I know movements have to start somewhere, but this isn't a brand new movement. This isn't like, another example of a new movement would be men going their own way, which is only a few years old, but now numbers likely in the millions. Why is it that we can't get parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, cousins? Why can't we get people to mobilize to come out to these events and push for the family law reform change? Well, I think that comes down to a number of factors. One of the factors that I've personally seen a lot of times is that people just make excuses. They don't want to be responsible for the things in their lives. They don't want to take on more responsibility, and they're just lazy. That is going to be the biggest downfall of this parental rights movement, is people not willing to step up, get involved, and publicly protest and march and push legislation towards this change. So that would be the first issue, and that's a big one. I see that with a lot of people. The second one, I think, would be that the battle to fight for our children is so time consuming and so financially and mentally expensive that people are just worn out. The problem is that we have 1,000 people on every one of these organizations or so-called groups that are all over Facebook. There's probably literally thousands of our organizations on Facebook, and you have 1,000 people on there that will complain and bitch about parental rights, but they're not doing anything about it. Based on my experience for the last 18 years, the trends that I'm seeing and the things that I'm seeing with people, we have not reached critical mass that we need to reach in order to demand this change. It's going to take a very ugly and toxic case, in my opinion, to work towards that change, or to get lawmakers and to get everybody's focus and attention on it. And what I mean by that is it's going to have to be such an exorbitant high number of victims within maybe one case or under one judge, or even people losing their lives. It's going to take those type of things, I think, to get people to pay attention and actually march and rally and demand change. That's a sad statement to make. I don't make that statement lightly, but I've been in the trenches on this for many years. I've seen and met a lot of people. I've seen a lot of other patriots and self-starters and people like myself that have kind of taken the lead on things and pushed. And everybody either burns out, or their effort just kind of, the tires get stuck and spin in the mud. So nothing ever happens with it. And then eventually you just see a lot of people just kind of slowly fade away from the movement. We don't have a structure to tie all of these organizations together. And until we can bring everybody under one umbrella, the American public is not ready for family law reform and change. That's just a sad fact. It's where we're at. When I start to see people's attitudes change and start attending events, start working with lawmakers, start calling lawmakers in their states and in Washington, when I start seeing people go to the media, when I start seeing more and more stories on it, when I start seeing people do undercover investigations, more and more films, maybe at that point we're ready for the change. I know I'm ready for the change now. I've been ready for the change for years and years. But it takes more than a handful of people nationwide to make the change, make this work. So we're not ready. I don't know how to tell when we're going to be ready. I don't know when it's going to happen or what's going to snap and make it go off the cliff. But right now, America is not ready to even accept the information that this is an epidemic, that children and families are being torn apart and victimized. America is not even willing to acknowledge that right now. So if America is not willing to acknowledge that as a whole, then how the hell do we get the change that we need? Leave some comments below. These are my thoughts for the morning. Just go ahead and leave me comments in the section below. I'd love to hear from people, get your thoughts on it. It's kind of, it's just one of those things where I guess at this point you have to accept that as fact. At least I do. There's other people that are continuing to not acknowledge that or fight that information, but the truth of it is in America, we haven't even acknowledged that there's a problem yet on a large scale. So until we do that and acknowledge the problem, we can't fix the problem. Subscribe to the channel. Leave me comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. Have a blessed and wonderful day. And as always, my sign off. Remember, family is the most important thing in life. Okay? Take care.